A very warm welcome to you, our followers, viewers, circle community, friends, colleagues, and whichever category you choose to be in. And Happy New Year. As I always say in our country, Happy New Year is all the way till June. As long as I have not seen you, it's Happy New Year. And I welcome you to the 360-degree brand story, first episode of 2025, where brands come alive one brushstroke at a time. And as I also welcome you to this space today, kicking off and not figuring out, we are not figuring out, we are running with 2025 together with you. And we want to appreciate you for having joined us last year, working with us as we discussed the nature of storytelling and seeing that it is not only linear, but it is not linear. Interesting. Straight, but not straight. In between, in that mix, you move. We shared tips, hacks, nuggets, tricks, words of wisdom from the one and only amazing presenter. I will not say other things. I think she's bracing herself for the shock that I'm about to throw on her way, but I am not going to do that. 2025, I promise to keep your heart rate lower so that then you can start the show from a good perspective. Chesubire, Talitwala Greg. Chesubire, how are you?
Good, really good. It's been a good start to the year.
It's been a good start. I like that. And thank you for sharing words of wisdom in a simple, effective, concise, and practical manner over the course of last year. We appreciate you. On behalf of all our followers, viewers, engagers, community, we appreciate you. We shall send you some flowers there to your residence. You can look at them on our behalf. Now that the year started and we went on holiday, you are the master storyteller. Or she's an excellent strategy executionist. And other than being a strategy executionist, she helps you draw your strategy. So all things strategy, growth, Chesubire. Now that we went on that short break, now I've not had a chance to ask you this. We jumped into the studio and we started running. What noteworthy story happened? What noteworthy thing happened over the holidays, that a story that you'd like to share with us? I told you this year I'm not doing those things of shocking your heart. We need your heart rate low.
Worthy. This Christmas was different. Number one, we didn't travel at all. We were just chilling, all of us. All my mother's, well, most of my mother's children were all chilling in the house. So you can imagine how that was, eh? But I think for me, the thing was simplicity. Because of a few reasons, we were not as, what's the word? We simplified what we would do for Christmas. Usually, I go all out. Mimi ni wale. I'm those ones who, yeah. And this year was different because we chose a simpler path. And the joy was around being together, having conversations. And we had some of the roughest conversations we've ever had as a family, but also some of the nicest. And when we were separating, my niece said to me, Yo, she's like, I have laughed so hard. I have cried so hard. I have unpacked a lot. And I said to her, it is my role as your mother, your auntie, to tell you the truth. If I don't tell you the truth, somebody will tell you our truth. and you will live by that truth, and that will become your life, and that's not what I want. And was really the reminder that somebody took time to make room for me, to raise me, to teach me. So I must do the same for the next generation, even when they don't look like they're listening. Because sometimes you're talking to them and they're like, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. You don't even know whether they've heard the thing you've said. Proof will be in 20 years. Keep talking, even when you're not sure that they have heard you or that they will even bother to do what you asked them to do. The other funny thing is, I was summoned to a family meeting by my child, be asked how I am making money in 2025. It was hilarious. And he was serious. So that's the noteworthy stuff of what it is.
Thank you very much. I like that, and it fits very well into our conversation. Remember, we've been talking about storytelling, and other than just storytelling is the execution of the things that we would like to do.
Yeah.
And in the execution of those things, then we work with others. Working with others means we have to inspire and influence them. And we have to do this in a very simple way. And two words have stood out for me as you were narrating your story. I like that. It was a simple. Simple, simplicity, simplification, the simple, whichever way we will look at it, always gets things done. And secondly, the truth instead of our truth. Which brings us to our conversation today. We have resolutions, vision boards, white boards, black boards, and all kinds of boards to help us be able to deliver in our 2025. And there are times I feel like we complicate it so much. By much we are tired. We're like, oh no, we are so tired. Taking into consideration that we do not work in silos and that every day we are selling ourselves and selling our ideas to those who are around us. What would you define the documentation of these things to be from a communication angle?
Documentation is a backup.
Not complicated.
It's a backup. And I'll tell you why it's a backup.
Yes. Good.
You see, so we started AMC when? 2021. We started talking about doing what we're doing here 5 years ago. Because we came from different spaces and we're doing different in one joint space. But we didn't have the capacity at that point to deliver it because of many different things, our commitments and all that. But what we did is we wrote down the things we felt we needed to do. It took us, because we met in 2020, right? It took us up to 2023 September to begin kicking it off. Because that's a long time. 2023 September is when we actually, because now I was free of the other obligations that held me back. Remember, that's when we registered. And it was the same conversation we're having that we'd been having for 3 years, right? And now we're in 2025 and we have seen 365 plus, maybe 365 plus 90 days of implementation. So we're in 450 days of implementation, if my math serves me right. And that's the power of documentation. And documentation, let's not do so in the events world. When I was in the events world, documentation was video, photo, articles, right? If you go to the production world, documentation is systems, procedures. From where I sit in communication, documentation is record keeping, it's tracking, right? It is so this is how we do things, but who is the custodian of that story? An employee's manual is documentation and is a story. It doesn't have to be written in prose, in once upon a time, hapo zamani za kale. No, it is the written format of how we are. It's who we are. So from comms, documentation is not only your roadmap. It's your roadmap because you hold it, but it's also sorry, I'm missing big words. Your repository. It's where your information sits. It is how people can reference it. It's your library. Documentation then becomes the railway that your business runs on. Because if I had a question and I do not know where to get the information, then I'm stuck. If I have a question and there's a document somewhere, or there's a custodian with the reason why we do certain things, then the system that is the business can continue to roll as I get my question answered. So my perspective is it is your railway system in your business. You know, those two things are called railway tracks. So it's your tracking system that keeps everything moving because you're able to refer, you're able to modify, you're able to write new things because life is dynamic. So that's my view of documentation in a business from a comms perspective. Now, please note, I don't use a lot of communication theories. I love them, but there has to be a way we can simplify and localize things into memorable bits. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Chisubiri. And thank you for even breaking it down. You know, strategy, execution, and implementation is all about communication and bringing people on board. And I like how you've broken it down. You are allowed to use big words. It was just that definition. When I saw your eyes shooting to the direction, I told you when your eyes shoot that direction, you calm down, you have got a heavy revelation, but you're allowed to use big words. So please use them. And thank you for that. So then that means we build a repository that we can refer, modify, and write new things. The other bit about strategy execution, and now we are looking at, remember I've told you we have got vision boards, blue boards, white boards, black boards, and all the boards coming together, which we need to take down and run, is in terms of alignment. Alignment of what we want, what we are doing, and those who are going to help us do it. How can we make this stick?
So remember our earlier conversation, of course, not on the show, in a different space, but we're talking about the management or the founder has this big vision, and then we tell people, this is the year of, let me use the Churchill. This is the year of prosperity. And then you go to another congregation. This is the year of acceleration. And even as that is good, most people don't have the backstory. So we'll say because the servant of God, because the business leader, because the management team, because the board said that this is the year of X, then it becomes the year of X, which is all good until your teams are uninspired to attain that goal. Alignment must happen through the ranks. So the board sat and said, this is the year of alignment. First of all, sit there, define alignment, and then call in your management team and tell them this is the year of alignment, which means, and define what it means. And then marketing says, if alignment means this, then as marketing, this is our pillar. As sales, this is our pillar. As finance, this is ours. As HR, this is ours. Down to the guy at the gate or the lady at the gate, down to your cleaner, your drivers, if you're running a small supermarket, your floor staff. I mean, when you go to local supermarkets, you can pull your teeth. When the owner is there, service is amazing. You go there, 6:30, 7 a.m. when they're opening and the owner is not there. Service is just bad. You go there in the evening before they close. 2 Christmases ago, there's a shop that had opened near us and we used to like shopping there. Until one day I walked into the shop and they were whining. Everybody was in the conversation across the shop there. There are customers in the shop. That was the last time I stepped into that shop. And they were whining and gossiping about their bosses. Now, you know me, I'm a boss, I'm a business leader. It terrifies me that my teams would be doing the same thing. And you see, what had happened is it was Christmas, but they had been told you will still open 8:30 to 8:30. So this guy had worked Christmas Eve, he had worked Christmas Day, he had worked 26th, 27th was now 28th. And in the locality where we live, people are fewer, but they come in randomly over Christmas. So what the business owner had done, they were on holiday. So they had not left the team inspired enough to be positive enough to come to work, which is why are they open? Because they need to make revenue, generate revenue to pay rent. So they've got salaries payable at the end of the month. The average employee assumes their salaries are stacked somewhere. Many of them do not understand the correlation between sales and salary. But as a business owner, if I will come and tell guys, okay, guys, we cannot close, I need to be away. So this is how we'll work it. This way we'll keep open, and these are the benefits I'll give you. I know one of my local chemist, she went away, she took time off to sort of some family things between December 10th and 22nd. From 23rd to the 2nd, she was the only one on duty. It's a small chemist. So her teammate worked 14 days straight. Well, no, 12 days straight. And then now she's coming and she has her 12 days to work. Why? She tells me, nilale nikufe. I sleep, I die. So, of course, she understands that she cannot close during the holidays, so she'd rather reorganize. It's two small organizations with two different mentalities. So to align your team, they must understand, one, the vision. They must understand why that vision is so important to you. They must, because vision is, so purpose, like we like in this space, purpose is your why, vision is your what, mission is your how. So when your teams can understand that and then see how their position meets that, then you're home and dry. That's how you do alignment. So remember, I said each department picks up the vision, interprets it into itself. So security will interpret too. We must generate, our customers must always have a good experience. So that translates into training on courtesy, kindness, patience, polite, concise. You'll do all those things. That doesn't mean they become lax in security. You add the soft skills to make them better workers. That's how you have to do alignment. How is that connected to storytelling? How you help them understand the vision up here determines how they implement it down here. So it's in different ways. There's the technical side of it where you're looking at, these are the targets, and then you'll be looking at the data from, how you look at last year's data to set this year's targets. And then the targets mean X and Y, so that's the technical one. And then now you make it visual. So you're like, last year, this is how much we did. This is what we want to do this year because of this, and want to accomplish that. So the explanation now ties it together. So alignment is around understanding the data you have, interpreting it as a leadership team, translating it to a language your teams understand, which is now where we do visual summaries, and if you need to do pie charts and pictures. And that's now where the vision board matters. Because now we can now say we want to sell 1 million pieces. So then 1 million with boxes could be a thing we have on the vision board. But if they don't understand why 1 million, if it's just 1 million so that Chesubri and Joe can fatten their accounts, they will simply do it as a job for their salary. If it's 1 million pieces to transform, generate enough income that everybody can get a 25% pay hike, and we can give to the community, it's a different level of inspiration. Some people are just driven by money. So then they'll hear 25% pay hike, they're good. That becomes their driver. For the ones who are driven by impact and influence, then the need to develop the community becomes their driver. But bottom line, these two things tie to the 1 million pieces. And then so now the whole team is aligned. Back to you.
Thank you, Chesubire. I like that. And what I've picked from you, the way you've broken it, is then we need to document all these things.
Mhm.
In our documentation, we show alignment. This is why we need to be aligned, and we document. In the documentation process, then we are able to shape narratives, stakeholder narratives, and we can also execute strategically in an impactful manner with clarity. I like that. Powerful.
Thank you.
I like the way you've broken it down.
You know that the thing that makes it easy to see it is because we've had this conversation with you several times about different things. Remember when we were sitting in December just figuring out where we are going as AMC? And then what's the next step we need to do? We need to bring the whole team on board, which means an envisioning. So it's possible to see them because in this space we practice what we preach.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just reflecting on that conversation and preparing for the next conversation.
Thank you. So allow me to ask a further question.
Another one. Sorry.
Even a brother one and a sister one is okay. Documentation, therefore, becomes our blueprint. Picking from the story you have just told us on why it is important to align, documentation then becomes our blueprint. How then can we document our strategy for success?
So you know how when you're in the bank, how would you account for what you did with your time during the day?
Depending on the role I had, if it was customer facing, how many complaints did I resolve during the day? How many customers visited my desk? How many phone calls did I receive? How many letters did I send out? In terms of cash, how many people did I serve? If it was operational, there were matrices for operational. By the end of the day, I needed to have done X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, and all those things. And I had to put that down in a manual form.
That's documentation. There is an organization I interacted with once, and you see, a bank like that would have a big system that it runs, right?
Yes.
They are a small, maybe 25, 30 person organization. They run on an Excel spreadsheet. they have a spreadsheet. Okay, the sheet itself is quite technical, but everybody has their sheet and everybody inputs their data. So the target for the year is, let's say, to build 300 businesses. And depending on your structure in the organization, you have a target number. CEO seems to have the most, going down like this. So then we have a spreadsheet that says Joe, Chusubire, Jane, Kamau, Lerato, like that. And as everybody fills in their sheet on a daily basis, it has a tally sheet it's sending the information to. So as the business leader, daily, you have line of sight of what you're supposed to do. There's another business I interacted with last year who, it's a shop, they sell daily. So at the end of every day, the shop manager and finance and cashier must sit together, and their reports they do. So there's report of daily sales, how many were by M-Pesa, how many were credit, how much cash was received, how much cash is in hand, what cash did you start in the morning. That you close at 6, that report must be dispatched by 6:30 so that the boss has line of sight. And I used to watch her. She would sit at 8 and compare, and then this feeds into another document. So if you asked her at any given time how much each shop did that week, she has the numbers, because they're feeding this into a central document. It's an Excel sheet. Does that make sense? So what they're doing, this is the finance. The store person has to give final tallies to the manager before they leave, because we dispatched and we received. So that must be done. So what you do, you develop mini system. You have a major system, but everybody has what is relevant to them. So if you're not a comms person, if you're not the social media manager, your sheet would not ask about how many impressions, how many reactions, how many comments. It's above your pay grade if you're the person on the shop floor. But there is somebody whose job is to make sure the poster needed is designed, the poster is put up. So what we have to do as business owners, envision everybody, envision departmentally, and then allow your line managers, if you've got line managers, to envision individually. And then you have different points of data collection. So how do you collect complaints? How do you collect compliments? Because you must do both. How do you resolve complaints? How do you reward customers? So the people in the respective places need to have a system. It doesn't even need to be very technical. It could be an Excel sheet. And in a different conversation, you and I were talking about how it could be a notebook depending on the size of the business. One of the micro businesses I know, every day they're a chemist again. Every day it's on the cash, it's the cash sale. And then the cash sale stopped working. So now they have a POS, one terminal. So you should see them. You make a sale, they all turn in the POS. When medicines are delivered, they put it into the POS, because then they're able to tally, which allows them to have a daily sales record. It allows them to see what medications go faster, so they can stock more of that. Now, when people say this is just simply business management, the interlink between each level, vertical, and level, horizontal, is communication, is storytelling. That's why I keep telling people storytelling is not just marketing. It's how you bring the whole group together and everybody understands that $1 million is the target. My portion of that million is 25%, which means my department needs to deliver 250,000 to that million. And then we come into the group, and as team leader, I'm like, okay, guys, how do we get the 250,000? Is it, if we're the marketing team, is it that we will have such precise marketing? So then we measure leads. But when I get the lead, what were sales? People of sales, they close that lead. It's not my role. My role is to market, and I have marketed and hear the leads, but how do we make the leads measurable? How do we make them trackable? So every unit has its metrics. And they can come and say, but guys, we're selling. I was working for a digital marketing company and they were selling products. The problem was, as when we did the marketing, their sales team wasn't able to close. So when they come back to measure against us, they're like, but we haven't made sales. And we're like, we are digital marketers. So then what was our protection? We produced a list. This is the list of leads we have given your teams. They're like, what? They're like, yeah. We have given you guys 1,200 leads. If there are no sales, it's not on us. Because our target was 300 leads a month. We have been doing 400, 450. So what that does, it exonerated us as the marketers, but it fried the salespeople. So then the other clarity is what the individual roles are and where we complement, where we cover each other, and where there's no crossover at all. Back to you.
I was taking notes. I want to summarize as I ask you before I ask you to give us your words of wisdom. So this powerful repository that we are creating that will help us to be able to, we'll be able to refine, to modify, and to write new things, becomes a powerful tool for measurement and trackability. And you see how well what you have told us fits into, what do we normally call it? Smart, smarter, you know. Because what you have told us is that when we are able to document all these things and put them down in a way that is simple, clear, with foundation, the backstory, then we will be able to hit those SMART objectives. Specific, measurable, attainable. What does the R stand for? And time-bound. Realistic. I was about to use the other R that they use, but let's stick with business people. Realistic and it's time-bound. And that is the best way we can actually summarize how you can deliver your SMART objectives. Document your strategy for success.
I think let me add something there that's just struck me. You see, many times people say but we don't know how we are doing, we don't know where we are going. So the central repository that people have access to, of course, people have access to different levels of access, right? But the general stuff that is available then deals with transparency. Because guys are like, how close are we to the goal? We don't know. So how much energy must we put? Then suddenly in October, you're told you only have done 15% of your goal. So there's pressure to deliver 85% in 10 weeks. So the added, when you have a central place where people can refer to, the transparency is an igniter because guys know there's nothing hidden, there's no malice involved. We're just pushing to the goals. And then, of course, you know, when you give bonuses, or you give reward system. So people know this is what it takes to earn this reward. Na kwa sasa, as of now, Joe is 15 million people ahead of me, but I want to be number one. So it gives me fuel. You're able to track. Because sometimes, have you been in organizations where somebody gets employee of the year and you're like, how? That's the one. Communication helps you eliminate. Back to you.
Powerful conversation. I've taken notes. What is give us 2 words of wisdom as we start 2025 and we bring the show to an end. Send us away with some words of wisdom. Not 2 words, let's say 2 sentences of wisdom. 2 words, knowing you will give me 2 words and then look at me. So give us 2 sentences.
What I believe is most important in this generation and for generations to come is the documentation part. We have a lot of systems and structures that are foreign to us in terms of their design. And what we fail to do locally is to localize those things. I'll give an example. How many South African chains have come to Kenya and failed, but gone to other African countries and thrived? What they failed to do is understand the mind of the average Kenyan and localize to that. So I believe in the power of documentation because number one, our history was wiped. Number one. Number two, our children think we are so foolish that other people discovered mountains that we had lived with. So we have an opportunity using documentation, number one, to tell the story of growth, because when our 100-year-old businesses begin to thrive on the continent, there must be history about them. You can go back and read the history about Colgate-Palmolive. You can go and read the history about Coca-Cola. You can read IKEA, you can read Nokia, Kodak. But the average African business, number one, we're heavily borrowing on things that need massive adaptation, and we're not adapting enough. And then we're not sharing with one another how we took an international acclaimed system, adapted it, and made it work. The other thing this will help us do, and that's why documentation is important, we begin to form a metric for evaluation of business value on the continent. And that for me is important because we are where some Western countries were 100 years ago. But they're making us feel like we're behind. Of course, we're behind. But there is no harm in being where we are if we are building the right systems and structures. So documentation will help because when I leave a company and I say I worked in management and I built a system, and they ask me to replicate the system, if I mentally don't have a picture of how to replicate, I cannot build. If I leave corporate and I come to set up my own establishment, there are things I will borrow, but I can't do wholesales. The capacity to track, the capacity to inspire our teams, the capacity to document for posterity is why we must write. We must design systems. We must tell stories. We must build websites. We must now collect data and store it on our own sites. What that does for us is that it gives us control. Because the end game about a business is the capacity to influence your environment and generate a return from that influence. So if you can inspire your teams by just helping them understand how the system works, why it works that way, how it is tied to vision, mission, all that, why the goals and targets are what they are, and then keep the lines of communication open so that if a goal shifts, you tell the teams. Then you will find your success and their success are interlinked, and it makes you succeed further.
Wow. Allow me to just do some drum rolls for you. I hope you can hear.
Oh, Joe, you're funny.
Thank you very much. And what a way to end the show. Build a repository, ladies and gentlemen, so that you will be in control of your business. And being in control of your business will mean that you can inspire, you can influence, you can track those that you're influencing to make sure that the revenue you would like to generate is coming in. And finally, you can adapt when it calls for it, and you can be innovative and creative. Ladies and gentlemen, where else would you hear these stories if it's not at the 60 Degree Brand Story? Subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification button. Send information. It's only in this space where brands come alive, one brushstroke at a time. The first of the many shows to come, and we are looking forward to working with you. This has been the 360-degree brand story, hosted by Akiko Stories. Yes. 360-degree brand story, hosted by Akiko Stories, powered by the African MSME Collective, moderated by Jomo Koko, and knowledge dispensed by the one and only master storyteller, SME growth advisor, strategy executionist. Hey, Mwana, let me stop there. We look forward to you joining us in our next show. Subscribe, follow us for more tips and hacks for you to remain in control of your business so that you can inspire, influence, track, and remain adaptable to innovate and create. Until next time, have a good evening, have a good afternoon, have a good night, have a good morning, and keep safe. And 2025 is yours for the taking. Build your repository. Thank you.